Hey everyone, it's been a week since I got back from BGG.Con, and now it's time to go through and see what all I was able to bring back, besides all the great new friendships. And so I'm going to be giving you a run through of all the games I was able to get and tell you in the different venues of the convention I was able to get them in, because I did get a good number of these games for free, which was really nice through my attendance at the convention. So if you haven't been to BGG.Con, I highly recommend you go. There's a lot of cool opportunities to engage with gamers from around the world. And also, it's really gaming focused. There are vendors, but at the same time, it's really just go sit down and you can play games with literally anybody that's there. It was a lot of fun. Okay, so I'm going to start off with the games that I was able to get actually just checking into the convention. So after you check in and then you get your wristband and your name tag, you actually go through a line and you get to choose between different games for what you are personally going to want to take home with you. So it started off with some bigger box games, and so the game I actually finally get to add to my collection now is Tokaido. So Tokaido is a really cathartic game put out by Funforge. It's been around for a while. It's very well known. Very excited to now have the hard copy of this. I've been playing the app for a while, which is a lot of fun. Recommend you check that out. It's perfect for while you're flying. But Tokaido. And then the next set of games we got to choose from were a couple more big box games. And so the one I chose was Junk Art from Pretzel Games. It's a dexterity game where you're stacking and doing some different things. It's going to be fun just for a nice night with friends, maybe over a pint. The next two games I got were some smaller box games. So the first one was RAR. I just thought the box art on this was really cool. Opened it up. It's a card game in which you are all different monsters, essentially like kaiju and like Godzilla type things, or the monsters you typically see in a Godzilla movie, plus like robot, bees, killer bunnies, and of course like a giant T-Rex type thing. But in the box there are actually like little dial counters for your health, etc. And this put out by Ape Games. Okay, the next one and the last one I got from just checking in to the convention was a game by Ravensburger, and that's Push. So it's a push your luck card game with a singular die. Excited to open up this little box. It was just really intriguing based on the art. Reminds me of some games that I would play as a kid, but kind of upgraded. So it's a game for 2 to 6 players, and look forward to checking it out. Okay. So, throughout the convention, I was also able to interface with some vendors, as well as just kind of go around and interact with some different people. So the next sets of games I'm going to be showing you are from some of those venues. So from the vendor hall in particular, which there was 2 actual giant rooms for the vendor hall, there was a couple of different booths that were selling. The majority were more demoing than they were selling, but there were a good number selling. And so from one of them, I actually got some decks of Keyforge, which if you listen to the most recent episode of the podcast, you'll know that I just went through a review of Keyforge, looking also at some of the literature behind the whole idea of being procedurally generated, which this game is. So I got some decks of this, and hopefully you tuned in for the live unboxing of one of the decks. So I got some Keyforge decks because it came out during the convention, and it's a lot of fun to play. And so it was cool to just kind of pick up a game, and if I had an extra hour, I'd get in a couple rounds of Keyforge with some new people from around the world. So that was pretty cool. And we get to discover what's in the decks together. So the next one I actually picked up Sight Unseen, but it's been one I had my eyes on for the last little bit, come out this year, and that is Railroad Inc. This is one of the 2 games from CMON. So they got the deep blue edition. They also had the red edition, kind of like Pokemon Red vs. Blue. So this is a game in which you roll. It's a roll and write, but you have a common dice pool. So you roll it for everybody, and you're making either little roads or little stations or little train tracks, and you score for the length of your train tracks, the length of your roads, etc. It's a fun little game. My wife and I played it actually the night I got home. That's about all they had the energy for, but it's a game for up to 6 people, and if you get both of them, you can actually play up to 12, or if you want 2 of the same set, but why not just go with another set? Because what this adds, why it's blue versus red, is the blue one adds in rivers and lakes, and the red one adds in some other fun things. I believe it's a lava flow and a meteor, which can blow your things up. So, yep, Railroad Inc. fun little game. The last game that I got from the vendor halls was actually Too Many Bones' 40 Days in Daylore. So this actually came out with the Undertow Kickstarter that they did. I don't know if you can tell above me, but right about there, I actually have everything else for Too Many Bones. This just completes my set, so thank you Chip Theory Games for this one. It adds in some more creatures, it adds in some new encounter cards, as well as some Tyrant Special Edition encounters. So I'm looking forward to adding it to the collection, because my Keyforge collection, there's so much going on there, a lot of opportunity. So that's a game for 1 to 4 players typically, but it's really great solo because it is a good storytelling, and that's why it's nice to add in some more of those cards. Okay, so another set of games that I got by going through and interacting with people at the convention. This was through what they call the virtual flea market, in which people on Board Game Geek put up some games that they've had, maybe that just aren't hitting the table, or some life circumstances are requiring them to maybe offload some games. Or they're just looking to add some space to their collection, or it just doesn't vibe with them, which is fine. Not every game is going to vibe with every player. So these are some games I actually pre-purchased and then actually got them at the convention. So the first one is a smaller box game, been out for a while, but that is the Resistance by Indie Boards and Cards, which is now part of Indie Games Studio, which also includes Stronghold Games. So a nice little hidden role game in which you're trying to tackle missions and also uncover who is the Resistance versus trying to sabotage you. So it's for 5 to 10 players. So it's nice, since I work with college students, to have some games that are a larger amount of players. I've played this before, and the fact that I can play it in about 30 minutes is perfect, because that's about the time I get with them during their weekly meetings. So the next things I got, because it's the base game and the expansions, Merchants and Marauders. So Merchants and Marauders is a game by Z-Man Games. If you notice the Twilight Imperium up behind me, I do like massive immersive games in which I feel like I'm able to be part of the experience. And so Merchants and Marauders I've played before, and the idea that I get to go and sail around the Caribbean and choose to be a pirate or choose to be a merchant or flip back and forth. That's just actually what I did. I went pirate and I got pardoned by the government. It was just a really cool immersive experience that I know that will be with me, because those stories tend to leave with you. Plus the other reason, and you're going to notice this with the next game actually too, but I do have an affinity for ship-based games. That's because my namesake, my uncle Bruce, he actually owned and operated a sailing school in the Florida Keys, and so I'd go down with my family in New York during the winter months and actually go scuba diving, go snorkeling, and go out sailing with him. Miss him dearly, but it just made me have an affinity and an appreciation for sailing around the ocean and through the Caribbean, because that's what I get to do with him growing up. So, little homage. Okay, the next one, I foreshadowed this by saying it also has ships. Islebound by Ryan Lockett. This one's been out for a little bit. So it's made by Ryan Lockett, put out by Red Raven Games, which is owned by Ryan Lockett. Ryan does the game design as well as all the art. It's just phenomenal. I got to meet him at BGG. Wonderful human. Very thankful for him and everything he's doing to advance the hobby, and I wish Red Raven the best of success. This is just one I hadn't been able to get my hands on, and so I'm thankful for it. If you notice, I do have right behind it on the shelf, I do have a Ryan Lockett collection popping up, as well as in some other parts on the shelf that you probably can't see. And so this is just helping round out that as well, because my wife absolutely loves getting to play his games, or their games with together. Okay, I'm going to save this for last. So during the actual slated event schedule, they do have some actual events. It's not just all open play. And so one of the cool events was the trivia night. And so trivia night is so popular, or game show night, is so popular that they actually do an 8 o'clock and a 10 o'clock, and this is on the last day of the convention, right after the big prize giveaway, in which they gave away over 60 bundles of games. It was incredible. One of them even included a drone. It was incredible. And so my team, Tigris, we played, and it was against like 30 other teams, and we actually ended up winning. And so we got a big prize bundle from USAopoly, who sponsored the game show night. And so all these next 4 games are from USAopoly. Some of them are just hitting the shelves now, which is kind of cool, and they're very different than some of the other games, but it's nice to have some other things going on in the collection. So the first one that was on top is Privacy. It's a game in which you're trying to learn more about the people around you through some very, very interesting questions. So there's that one. The next one that my wife is excited about, because she is a very big Harry Potter fan and cannot wait to see the new movie. We've been just busy, and so we're going to go hopefully in the next coming days. But that is Fantastic Beasts, The Perilous Pursuit. This is essentially a coming out of the first movie, in which the main characters are trying to track down the different creatures before they wreak havoc. So it's up for 2 to 4 players, about 45 minutes gameplay. You roll dice, and then you get to do some things. Be checking it out. Okay, the next one from USAopoly that I got from the game show night was Blank Slate. And I should note that all of these 4 games that I'm showing you from USAopoly, every member of my team also got all 4 games. So thank you, USAopoly. Blank Slate is a game in which you're trying to convey some hidden messages to others. Where it's a game where blank minds think alike. And you're trying to get somebody else to actually write down the same word as you. So Blank Slate, it's a game for 3 to 8 players, plays about 20 to 35 minutes. And so checking that out in some larger audiences. The last one is another Disney-based game, just like Fantastic Beasts. And this one is the newest one, and that is Snow White, a gemstone mining game, in which you're really playing the roles of the 7 dwarfs, and you actually go out and you collect these cool gemstones. And so I'm excited for it. It's 3 to 7 players, which is always a unique player count. Because one of the biggest issues actually we had as a group was what games we're going to play, because sometimes we're up to 7, 8 people. So it's good to have something else around. Okay. My final 2 things to show you that I got were from the Board Game Bazaar. Board Game Bazaar, in which people are again offloading some of the games. These sales were not made in advance. It's during it. The place was a cacophony and a brouhaha of people, just kind of like a whirling dervish of all the people. Kind of felt like just a game of sardines a little bit. But there were some really, really cool things going on. I actually saw the 3D Catan was there. It's just massive wooden box. Saw War of the Ring, fully painted set. Oh my, it was incredible. I went a little bit more humble in some of the things, and so the first thing I got, set of poker chips. I actually don't have poker chips. Now I do. These poker chips, though, are the Board Game Geek poker chips. So back in the day, if you won, you could get a set of poker chips for winning the poker tournament that happened, and they also offered for people to be able to buy them. They no longer do that. And so I was able to get a set of poker chips, which I'm just very excited about, because right here, I actually have a set of every year when I've done the poker tournament, the chips that I've gotten, I've kept. Just a nice little badge of honor, because the further you proceed into the tournament, the better poker chips that you get, the higher point value. And the last game that I got, which I'm very excited about, it's just so gorgeous. Brass Lancashire. So Brass is a game that came out a while ago. It was ugly as sin. But a phenomenal game. And so they came out with a new edition through a Kickstarter. I just couldn't make that happen at the time. And so this is a game where you're essentially Industrial Revolution in Europe, in the UK, and you are building different buildings, either a cotton factory and making coal, etc. And in the first half of the game, you're only able to use shipping lines, and then all those get wiped out. And then you get to put out actually little railroad lines, so you have to build the railroads because you need the materials for it. So this is a great game. This also comes with poker chips inside of it. They call them iron clays. So this is a super premium edition of this game. It's the deluxe Kickstarter edition. So it's going to be different than what you see if you go out and get it retail. But it's gorgeous. The board has a 2-player and a 4-player side, so one side is 2-player, one side is 4-player. It's nice to see them use the back side of the board for something. But then also, like, even my wife saw it and she's like, ooh, this is so pretty. And so congrats Roxley Games, who puts this out, for making such a great thing. So that is everything I was able to bring back in terms of games from BGG.Con. I'm curious to hear from you. What games of the games that I brought back are you most excited for, or do you want to learn the most about? Or are there other games out there that you would like me to be on the lookout for? It was a really great convention, and I look forward to sharing more about some of these games, and as well as some of the other cool things that came out of the convention, just personally and professionally. And so I hope that you had a great Thanksgiving these last couple days, and that you have a great rest of your weekend. Go out and have a positive impact on the world.